So today we're going to be looking at descriptive language again, which we learned about yesterday, but today we're going to be really using it a lot more actively. So let's get started. Do you remember this from, I think it was our second ever lesson this year, where we had a simple sentence like the old man sat on the bench. And with this, we needed to create atmosphere. So we added one more sentence to show what it felt like for the man to be sitting there. It's similar to what we did yesterday, but yesterday we were more concerned with imagery. And imagery is not only the atmosphere, but it's using better words, adverbs, adjectives, personification, and so on to create a mental picture for the reader so they can really see it as well as feel it. So if you remember, the old man sat on the bench. The first one was children were running around playing football on the lush grass, shouting and laughing happily. This created a very positive atmosphere, a kind of a nice sunny day type of atmosphere, pleasant. Then there was the second one. The old man sat on the bench. The sky grew darker as rain clouds threatened to spoil his afternoon. This is a different atmosphere, and it created a kind of threat and some kind of a little bit of almost suspense of what's going to happen next. Will his day get spoiled or not? And then the third one, the old man sat on the bench, and this time it's a very negative atmosphere. The rush of traffic drowned his thoughts, making him irritable and more short-tempered than usual. So we get a feeling that he's angry and it's a very noisy, horrible, smoky, dusty atmosphere around him. Now, this was just atmosphere. There is some kind of imagery there as well, but we want to improve it. After we looked at those examples, then you had to write 3 different sentences, each one describing a different atmosphere. For this sentence, the children looked through the window. Now, there were many different things that people here wrote. They wrote about shooting stars. They wrote about creepy shadows creeping across the lawn. They wrote about the children being sad because they could hear their parents arguing downstairs. All different atmospheres. What we need to do is we need to look at our original sentences. So this will be one of the first things in your notebooks from this year. It's the second lesson we ever did. Have a look at your sentences that you wrote and then rewrite those sentences and improve them with what we learned yesterday. Yesterday, we learned how to create not just atmosphere, but imagery. Imagery, it's kind of better than atmosphere. It's not just the feeling, but we're really trying to use more figurative language and paint a bright picture in the mind of the reader. So let's take an example. Now, we had that sentence, the children looked through the window, and we had to add another sentence to create the atmosphere. Here's one. The children looked through the window. They saw a shooting star fly across the sky. Actually, this sentence is not a very good one. I'd say this is quite a weak one. This one, I wouldn't want to use it. Why? Well, let's have a look at what words we're using here. We've got the word saw. They saw something. Okay, they saw something, but saw is such a common daily verb. Yes, we might want to try and find a more descriptive verb that will help to describe how did they look, how did they see. What did they see? A shooting star. Okay, that's an object. But we got here the word fly, fly across the sky. Fly is also a very common word, but it doesn't tell us how did it fly. There's no adjectives and there's no adverbs in this sentence. So this one I don't think is very good. This one is much better. The children looked through the window. They stared in amazement as a shooting star zoomed brightly across the night sky. Now this one is much, much better. First of all, we're taking the word saw, they saw something, and we're changing it into they stared. This helps to tell the reader, that their eyes are fixed on this shooting star and their eyes are probably wide. Plus, we've added an adverbial phrase to how did they stare? They stared in amazement. Then we've got as a shooting star. Now we've changed fly, we've improved it into zoomed, which is a more powerful verb. And how did it zoom? We're using an adverb. It zoomed brightly. So this is much better. And not just across the sky, we've added the night sky. This helps the reader to imagine, because it's night and the sky will be black, then when the shooting star zoomed brightly, they can imagine it much more brightly against the black night sky. So this second one is much better than the first one because we have carefully chosen the verb. We've used an adverbial phrase. We've used a powerful verb. We've used an adverb of manner. And we're using this word to help describe the sky, what it was like. So we would use this one. But wait, let's stop and think. What did we learn yesterday? Yesterday, we also tried to use personification or onomatopoeia for sounds, or even a simile. This sentence, although it's still really good, we can still improve it further and add one or two of those things. So the children stared in amazement. Now we cannot add personification because personification is when we take something which is not human and we make it seem like it's human. Well, the children are human already, so we can't use personification to describe humans. But we could use personification for the shooting star. Well, if we cannot use personification for the children, let's use a simile. Now, they stared in amazement. What we need to do is think about a simile to describe staring in amazement. Now, there are similes that we could think of, like they stared like a rabbit in the headlights. Now, what does that mean? If you've ever been driving along a road and a small animal like a rabbit is in the road at night, and as your car drives along the road, all the rabbit can see is the very bright headlights. And what they do is they freeze and they don't move. Often they die. But this is being frozen with fear and sort of shock. So this isn't a very good one. This doesn't really work because the children are not shocked or scared. They're not frozen in fear. So we need a better simile. The simile must match the mood that the children are in. When would someone stare in amazement? Well, how about this? Imagine someone has just discovered that they have won a lottery for maybe $10 million. what would their face look like? Well, they'd have huge, big, round eyes. Their mouth would be wide open, and they would be so shocked they probably couldn't speak for a minute. So the children stared in amazement like astonished lottery winners. This now captures not a scared feeling, but a really surprised and amazed feeling. That's much better. Now, personification for the shooting star. Now, the shooting star, it's not frightening, it's not scary. I think it's very positive. So we need to find a positive word. How did it zoom brightly? Or what was it doing? How about this? Joyfully. That's very positive. So when we put it together, we get a far more colorful sentence with better imagery. They stared in amazement like astonished lottery winners as a shooting star zoomed brightly and joyfully across the night sky. Now, this is a huge improvement on the original sentence. So that's what I want you to do today. Look at your old sentences and improve them, okay? When you improve your sentences, remember, concentrate on the mood that you want to create. Choose your words very carefully. If you say the children looked through the window, how did they look? Did they stare? Did they gaze? Did they, think of a better verb for how they looked, which is connected to that mood. If the words you have don't really help to create the mood that you want, then perhaps you should go online to a thesaurus. Now, a thesaurus is a bit like a dictionary, okay? It's a bit like a dictionary, but a dictionary tells you what each word means. A thesaurus doesn't do that. What you do is you type in a word, and then the thesaurus gives you a list of other words that have the same meaning. And if you go to thesaurus.com or find any other online thesaurus, then you can find much better words. But be careful. Sometimes it will give you such strange words that we never use in English that when you write them in a sentence, even I won't recognize the word. So only choose words which you've seen before and you think you've seen them used to describe the mood that you're trying to create. Okay? Anyway, improve your verbs. Add adjectives. Add an adverb or an adverbial phrase of time or place. But that's still not enough. Try to include a simile, or if you want, a metaphor, and add one piece of personification. Okay? Don't try and rush this and finish this as quickly as possible. This is all about, can you create a really amazing sentence? Can you craft one sentence which is very descriptive and full of imagery? Once you have created a really good one, then if you think you've done your best and you've checked it, make sure you've got your simile, make sure you've got your personification and an adverb and an adjective, yes, or more. Once you've done your best, I want you to go back to the post in Google Classroom where you found this link, and then write your original sentence, the one that you wrote right at the beginning of term 1, write that into the comments of this post, and then add your new and improved sentence. Okay, so you're typing this directly into the Google Classroom where you found the link to this video. But then also, don't just say, right, I've done it and finished. Okay, you might need to wait for everyone to put in a few of their finished sentences. But once there's about 10 of them in there, then you can start to read your classmates' comments and write a comment on some of your classmates' sentences. Now, when I say write a comment, I don't just want you to write, oh, that's good, or, well done. I really want you to think about what they've written and, write a proper comment to them, a constructive one. You should be mentioning what they've written, like, oh, your simile of blah 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 really helps to create a good image. That is a pretty good comment, or why does it create a good image? Or if you think they've written something and it's okay but not the best one, yeah, you could perhaps make a comment and say, you wrote this simile, but I think this other simile would be better because blah, 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 blah. So make sure you do write a comment or a few comments on your classmates' sentences. I'm going to be checking them afterwards. And anybody who doesn't do any comments at all, I'll probably take away a dojo point, because writing comments is part of this assignment. So you only need to write one amazing sentence, but then comment on your classmates' sentences too. Okay, that's all.